Hello. Today I have a novel I want to talk about. It's by one of the Hollywood 10, Albert Maltz. A Tale of One January. It's a short novel, 150 pages. Why did I want to read this book? I've been reading about the blacklist, the purge of left wingers, left liberals, communist parties, people's socialists that occurred in the late 40s and early 50s after World War II, when the United States, kind of turned its war efforts against the Soviet Union after the Soviet Union and the rest of the Allies defeated the Nazis in World War II. The intelligence system of the U.S. Brought over a whole bunch of German Nazis, something called Operation Paperclip, and set them to work, in this campaign against godless communism. So part of that was the House Un-American Activities Committees, and I've been reading about that. This is, went on from, I don't know when it all started, but in 1947, it really kind of picked up steam, and they went out to Hollywood and subpoenaed all these screenwriters looking for communists, and 10 of them did not wish to testify. They were cited with contempt of Congress, and Albert Maltz, as well as others known as the Hollywood 10, were jailed for about a year. The situation happened in the hearings and so forth happened in 1947, and Albert Maltz went to jail in 1950 for a year, as well as Ring Lardner Jr., Dalton Trumbo, various others. I've been reading about this in a nonfiction book, very long nonfiction book of 720 some pages called Tender Comrades. And I'm really liking the book. It's all made up of interviews of these people in their elder years. So I really like the book, and it prompted me to look more into some, since I really kind of like these people. I think they seem like really good, intelligent people, the kind of people I want to be my friends or my comrades in a political struggle, for that matter. So, and the worst of the country, the committee people, congressmen, who are, a lot of them just kind of hacks. They're kind of like used car salesmen, ignorant. Said about persecuting these people. So I wanted to, we can look at the movies they made for the movie business, and it's like, well, whatever. The movies are made by the producers and by the studios, and the studios have the ultimate say in what goes on in movies. So you kind of be hard pressed to find any particular left wing stuff injected into Hollywood movies by these really great writers that they hired to work on the scripts. So I wanted to read what people like this really were having to say for themselves, and so that had me get this book from the library. And I'll probably read other novels and works by Hollywood 10 people when I get around to it. I'm only halfway through Tender Comrades. I didn't bring it up here. I'm up at a cat sit, one of my cat sits in Inwood in Manhattan, and I didn't want to bring the big, thick hardcover book, Tender Comrades, up here. So I had this little thin book instead, and I brought this one and another one, and I'm going back downtown midweek. And then I'll get back into Tender Comrades and talk about that soon. I'm halfway through it. So, a tale of one January. From the introduction, I found out it's actually a true story, and it's a true story because Albert Maltz did actually meet the woman involved in the story, and interviewed her extensively in 1960, and then produced this novel in 1962. There's a particular horrendous scene that goes on in this, the most harsh and horrendous scene, which it's in the introduction, and I knew about it before I started reading the novel, so I'll tell you what the scene is. It involves a young boy with an apple and playing with an apple, and the Nazi soldiers or SS or whoever they were confronting the boy, picking him up, a 6-year-old boy, picking him up by his legs and smashing his head against the wall, whirling him around, smashing his head and murdering him against the wall. And then the soldier takes the apple and eats the apple. So that particular horrendous story is in the novel, and in a slightly different version than it was told to Maltz. So, into the story of the novel. This is late in the war, late in World War II, in January of 1945. We know it all kind of ended in 1945. It didn't really end in 1945, but the campaign against the Nazis ended in 1945, and then it shifted by the CIA and the other intelligence agencies to a war against communism. So, which is kind of part of World War II in a way. At least I think it is. So, A Tale of One January is a story where several of it's coming down, and we know the war is ending, and for some reason the German troops were marching a bunch of the prisoners out of Auschwitz somewhere else in the snow in January in Poland. So it's snowing and snowing a lot and very cold. So we start with a march with two women who are friendly from their internment in Auschwitz. One is a Jewish woman who is Dutch, and the other is a French woman who is not Jewish but a political prisoner. So they're friends, and there's a sharing of bread and things, like the minimal amounts of food they have, and one of the characters, the Jewish character, found some shoes or something for the other the French character, and they're on this long march through the snow, and somewhere along the line in the march, they're just with soldiers, not with SS guys. So whatever the whatever the soldiers were like at that point in the German army. I mean, they've been through a lot of people by that point, so they probably could have been just kids, basically. But they come upon a barn and have a rest period in the barn, and all the women are all marching separate from the men. So this is all a procession of women, soldiers, and dogs. And Nazis used a lot of dogs. So we find them in a big barn with a lot of hay. So this woman in the story, Claire is her name. Claire, and I think Looney is the other woman's name. So they get a notion that they should hide in the hay. So big piles of hay. So they take a chance that they can hide in the hay, and that the dogs aren't going to be able to smell them through the hay. That the soldiers will not miss them. Somehow they might be able to escape, and they do this, and they succeed in escaping. So this is in the very beginning of the book. While the rest of everyone marches off, and they are left behind, happily escaped. The next run of prisoners comes through, and this is all men. Well, coincidentally, 4 of the men get the same idea and also succeed in escaping. So we end up with 4 men and 2 women in this barn somewhere in Poland, who have escaped, and are in very, very bad shape, very, very thin, starving, freezing. Claire's feet are almost to a situation where she could get gangrene from them being so cold and frozen and so forth, which would be the end of her life in this situation. But fortunately, that doesn't happen. So the 6 of them work together and stay together, and they move on from where they are, and they find a factory, an abandoned factory, with all the machinery has been pulled out. It was a brick factory at one point, and all the machinery has been pulled out of the place. Big building, apparently. And no one's around, and this is a small town. And they end up staying in this factory for basically the rest of the novel. And one of the prisoners is Polish, so he is sent out to a nearby house to see if he could get some assistance from the Poles in the nearby house. And they find out that the German troops have not been around there in a long time. There's not much going on in the town. And the general notion is that the Germans are in a retreat, and pretty soon the Russians could come and liberate and save these people, because the Russians keep marching east toward Germany, and are winning. They are winning the war at this point, as well as what's going on with the Americans through the rest of Europe from the on the west, the Eastern Front there. So they are in the factory, and we really get into the relationships of the people. Fortunately, everybody's kind of they're all young. They're all like in their 20s. I don't think any of them was over 30, so they're all really young, and they have all also always been segregated sexually for all these years. So the men who were there have not seen any women in, 7 years. They have been in the camp for a long time. Everyone has been various lengths of the time they've been interred, but so the guy ends up, finding a house where they get assistance, and they get assistance, and they get some food, a little bit of food that's potato soup, which is better than whatever they were given in the end stage life of the German Third Reich there, and the in the concentration camp. So, they start getting a little more healthy. The women are, and as they become more healthy, and as they, become more human, and not in this situation. Of course, they're all have PTS, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and are in horrible shape, but yet feelings of the need for human connection, love, and romance actually begins to sprout within them. These 4 men and 2 women. The Polish man actually, who is going back and forth out, he meets a Polish woman when he's out on journeys. A daughter of the guy who's assisting them in the house. So he's kind of taken care of in that way, but there is a conflict between some of the men. In that one man, Otto is Austrian, and Otto is a little bit more disturbed than the others, and he, really wants love. He wants a woman. He wants connection, and but it turns out that Claire and one of the Russian guys, a Russian guy named Aubrey, are getting together, and 2 of the other people are getting together. So this leaves Otto out. So Otto also has a knife that he's acquired somewhere and had all this time. So they start to be concerned about Otto and his jealousy. So all this stuff about this connection, and then this need for love, and this becoming human again. Well, I won't go into what goes on beyond then, but that's basically the parameters of this novel and what is going on in this novel that I thought was really very good. And I read quickly in a couple of days, and I got it from the library, so it might be in your library if you want to read it. I like that Maltz made only one of the people Jewish. I mean, we think so much of the Holocaust as a Nazi and Jewish thing, but when you really look at it, there's all kinds of people they threw into the concentration camps, and they considered the Slavs just as much scum basically as the Jewish people were, and they were going to exterminate them too, exterminate the Russians, and take over the Russia, and all these grand themes that they had, because, well, they're fascist, and fascists have grand schemes. So it ended satisfactorily. It ended not particularly horribly happily, but happily for some and unhappily for others, which is kind of what life is like. And it was really very good, and I would recommend reading this if you wanted to read something like that. And, I learned a little bit more. I keep reading these things and learning more about, learning about the blacklisted people and what they were like. And here I learned a little bit more about the World War II and, the concentration camp life and so forth. And it was good. And I liked it. So, Albert Maltz, A Tale of 1 January. I appreciate you watching. And like and subscribe if you want. And we'll continue on.